So
All right, got it.
no, I'm doing it, so I'll have to forward them on to you, Ian.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Dave.
Last two sports coming up. First one, MotoGP. Lorenzo Savadori and Danny Pedrosa were involved in a horrendous fireball crash at the Grand Prix of Styria in Austria. Grand Prix was red flag straight away. The track was just covered in flames where the accident happened. Savadori was taken away on a stretcher and later diagnosed with a broken ankle, while Pedrosa was fit to return and managed to finish 10th in the race. 9 times world champion Valentino Rossi is to retire at the end of the season at the age of 42 after 115 victories in a 25-year career. Also, the only rider to win the 125, 250, 500cc and Moto GP titles. And finally, Rugby League to cheer. Between St. Helens and the Catalan Dragons. So the Saints, 26 up at our time, eventually win by 34 points to 12. Now trail the Dragons by 6 points with 3 games in hand. And finally, the Rugby League World Cup has been postponed until 2022. They're in the lesson.
News.
Well done, Dave.
Well done.
Right. Just in case anybody missed it, Dave was telling us when he came on that he can't do the news for the next 3 weeks because he's looking after his grandchildren. Have we got
do it, yeah.
Have we got a willing volunteer?
What's that?
Take it on.
It's just for 3 weeks and then I'll take it back for the first one in September. Do apologise. In fact, they're here now.
Come on, lads. One of you.
Bring them in. Bring them in.
No, is there anybody willing to do it?
You've got your hand
I
up.
can't guarantee that I'll be there, so.
Right. Does anybody want to do it for 1 week just to try to see how they go with it?
Got too much on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm doing a piece next week, Keith.
Yeah. Big Paul, how about you?
Well, first of all, I'm away part of it. I'm on holiday one of the weeks, and I'll be honest, I don't fancy doing it, to be honest.
It's the correct answer.
It looks like I'll be doing it then. So
Keith,
right.
totally confident, Keith, in you doing that.
All right. So right. So
can I just add something for Chris? You missed a really good cricket match last night, Chris. A chap called Tahir got a hat trick. I don't know if you watched it. He did a wrong one. Then he did a
writing.
Say again?
A writing after following his wrong one. Yeah.
You really need to get into it. Some cricket, really good, excellent stuff.
I wouldn't watch it if it was
In your garden.
No, I wouldn't watch it if it was in my garden.
yeah,
And I've seen Tahir try to bowl in proper games in his black socks, and I prefer not to see him again. Thank you.
How old is he? How old is he?
He's just a jobber who goes from tournament to tournament, taking the money. I don't see the interest. I don't wish him any harm, but I don't personally have any interest in seeing someone who just goes from team to team in his black socks. I don't get it. It doesn't mean anything. Sorry.
I've been watching.
Thanks for the update, Ian. Thank you.
I've seen a bit of some games, both and these 100s, and some of the bowlers look like chuckers to me. I don't get it. They seem to bowl, and then the wrist seems to just
Yeah, it does.
flick at the
Yeah,
end.
I agree. I agree.
Well, the
Keith.
wrist, it's
You
all right
like
moving the wrist. As long as
Yeah.
they're not bending their elbow, then they're all right. They can move the wrist, that's no problem. But they
Really?
can't bend their elbow. On
Right,
delivery, they've got to have their elbow straight.
right, okay, I didn't know.
Unless you're from Sri Lanka.
In all seriousness,
And it's
sorry
all
to, sorry to wind Chris up, but in all
Somebody said-
seriousness,
No, we all have our opinions, and
no, I'm doing it just to wind you up. But
I know
the
you
thing
are.
I
I know.
like about cricket generally on TV, and I
Yeah.
think Sky led with it, is they do dwell on hand position, you know. And as a schoolboy, I remember asking my cricket schoolmaster, "How do you do off spin? How do you do leg spin?" And they hadn't got a clue. They
No.
couldn't show you. Yet
No.
with the slow-mo and the rest of it, the hand position, and even the seam bowlers, Chris, you'll understand this, I'm sure, the seam bowlers, they've got to have their hand in a certain position, whether they're bowling the wobble ball or off, using the shine or whatever. The technology, the different type of ball and how to use it, how they learn to in swing and reverse swing and all the rest of it, just find it brings a new dimension to the game. And whereas you'd never get that when you were actually at the ground, because you didn't have the guy next to you explaining it, but now it's on TV. I think it brings a new dimension.
I quite agree, but the trouble is on television when you get the commentators who are talking the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Correct,
what I want to have is if I'm sitting in the best seat in the ground and watching the game clearly and with somebody who's an expert chipping in every now and again to draw your
Yeah,
attention to what
yeah.
you've been saying, the sort of hand position.
I think
You're describing Richie Benno there.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, and it long gone. Sorry, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're putting into context perspective what I really mean. I don't mean Sky broadcasters. I mean third man. When they go to third man,
Yeah.
you get the explanation what they've been, and the back position, the stance in the crease, how the back leg is a little bit further apart than 2 seasons ago than it is now, and that adjusts the timing to take the ball on the half volley or whatever. It's the
Yeah, I agree.
detail
Yeah.
professionals can actually draw out for you. I find it utterly fascinating. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay.
Somebody described the 100 as 2020, but with 5 ball overs. It's just the same
Yeah.
with 1 or 2 other gimmicks. Like
Yeah.
people doing this all the time, doing this when there's
Oh,
a 4
I like that.
scored.
I like that.
We don't
Army,
need it.
army.
Yeah, no, I don't get it. Anyway,
I
let's,
think the trouble with the 100 is it treats everybody as though they're idiots
Stop it, Ian.
and not capable of enjoying the game as it is.
Sweet Caroline. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Who was that last that was co-punditing with on the Olympics? Former footballer
Alex Scott.
Alex Scott.
Alex
She'll
Scott.
be doing
Alex
cricket
Scott.
next. Yeah, she'll be
Yeah,
cricket
she will.
next. She's doing everything else. She'll do cricket.
You're doing news at 10 next week.
Yeah.
No, you
He's
won't.
doing
Scott.
football focus season.
Yeah.
right, whoa. Let me put a halt at that, because I think we're
You're just having
we're
fun.
going on a dangerous path.
She's doing a lot.
No,
Jonathan,
she's very good. You know.
yeah,
Don,
Jonathan,
there isn't-
could you tell us about going home on Saturday?
Going home. Jonathan's going home.
Well, I tell you what was odd was just being in a large crowd of people again after all this time. And it was a terrible day for traveling on the trains. There was a train that was gone out of order around Wembley Central. All the trains were off. I had to spend 25 quid on a taxi to get to Watford Junction,
Oh,
and
God, no.
I eventually got to Coventry, but then only in time to get the train to Coventry Arena, which only runs once an hour. And because it was a half-past kick-off, it happened to be all right on 46 minutes past the hour, or 39. And it's just a little two-car set. And I got on this, and it was absolutely crammed with supporters from Forest and from City, and making the most enormous amount of noise, banging and shouting and singing. And it was fine, nothing wrong with that. There was nothing aggressive or unpleasant about it. But, you know, I got off the train, I thought, I wonder how much COVID has been in those two carriages.
Yeah.
And, you know, going into the ground, the queues to get in, because it was the first game of the season, first time back at the Ricoh Arena, or Coventry Building Society Arena as it now is. And I was thinking, there's nobody wearing masks. And I felt embarrassed that I had a mask on, and they were announcing that people should wear masks if possible. So I think the danger is that over the coming weeks, there's been going to be a lot of risk of infection as a result of football coming back without any constraints at all. But no, I'm talking about the day and going back to the Ricoh Arena, either from the point of view of coming back from COVID or coming back having been at Birmingham for a couple of years. Yes, of course, it was terrific. It was a sunny day, and it was terrific to see people you'd not seen for 2 years. It was very odd because you felt that everybody around you you'd only seen last week, but in fact it was 2 years ago, and or you know, people had come to Birmingham, it was actually a year ago, but it was a very odd sort of disjointed sensation of meeting. And I ran into a friend, and I thought, do I embrace him? Am I allowed to shake his hands? And you know, there was that sort of awkwardness to begin with. But then the match got going, and we were appalling. Well, not appalling, but not very good in the first half. And everybody around me was saying, oh, it's going to be a long, hard season sort of stuff. And then we really upped our game in the second half, and it was terrifically exciting, of course, coming back to the ground to score that literally last-minute winner. And the excitement was terrific. And you realised how much you'd missed that sheer spontaneous excitement at a football ground, that sort of electricity of suddenly scoring, and you're in the air, and which you are in front of a television set if you're watching the streaming, or have been for the last year. But to be doing,
I haven't.
Yes, but that's probably for more reasons of concern about your team than lack of confidence in the technology. But no, it was a great experience. But I'm worried about, as I am nationwide, about this opening up again and what it's going to mean for the possibility of further infection. But it was a great day, and it was great to be back at the Ricoh Arena, and there was none of the nonsensical "we want Sisu out" rubbish. I think even some of the less informed fans have begun to understand that whilst Sisu may have been at fault over certain things, a lot of the fault for our being away from the Ricoh Arena lies with Coventry City Council, with WASPs, with the local newspapers, and with the egregious Sky Blue Trust. And although we're not going to be there forever, the owner is very definitely keen on building her own ground, or having the club having its own ground. It was great to be back yesterday. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good.
Well done.
Thank you. And helped by 2 ex-Sheffield United players.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, I forgot them, my lads, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Simon Moore.
I told you.
He looked very competent indeed. I mean, he didn't have a lot to do. He made one good save, but he's handling his distribution, and he's a big lad, isn't he? He's tall.
He is.
Mariju who's gone, and Wilson, the reserve keeper, are not that tall, but he's a big lad, Moore, and that helps, I think.
He's
No, he
about
dominated.
6'5".
Shouting, his calling was good, and he looked a very good player. Yeah.
Well, I went to Bramall Lane on Saturday, and I take on board what you say about the crowds. But when I left, I was more concerned about my mental health than my physical health.
That's so true. But I mean, it's without making too many excuses for United, they've had a very disjointed run up to the first game. People maybe aren't aware that the friendly against Norwich that was postponed because Norwich got COVID.
Yeah.
Well, it was the third one that was called off. They were due to play 2 behind closed doors as well, and they both got called off. And United players had to self-isolate for 10 days as well, not long prior to it. So the pre-season, and they looked disjointed. So
But similar problem, Keith. We were going to play Norwich, and that was postponed. And we had another game behind closed doors at Chesterfield, not against Chesterfield. I can't remember who it was going to be against. That was called off. And we've had COVID in the camp, and we've had players isolating who've also had COVID. And I think that there have been a lot of problems up and down the players who haven't really got in their stride and are unfit as well. So it'll be interesting to see how things settle down, particularly in the Championship, I think. Yeah.
There was a bit for...
I think he's going to take a month before we really see who's any good.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Peter, you were saying...
I said there was an obituary in the Telegraph, but George Curtis...
That's right, yeah.
All right.
Manager.
Yeah. George Curtis.
Yeah.
Yes, he'd come to the club as a 16-year-old, as a player from Kent, here, miner's son, Welsh father, and he made the, until Steve Grizovic overtook him, the record number of appearances for the club, and then joined the management side. And a great icon at the club, and ever present for years at centre half, and indestructible. And then he broke his leg against Forest in 67-8, and so it was ironic yesterday that, or on Sunday, that there was a minute's silence and then a minute's applause when Forest were the opponents, of course, against Frank Wignall. He'd broken his leg against in 67.
Yeah, I should have realized. I should have known that things wouldn't go well on Saturday, because there were 3 ex-Wednesday players in the media. I mean, what are they doing?
In the media, were they?
Yeah,
Was it Laurie Madden?
No, there was Michael Gray.
Oh yeah, good bloke.
Darren Pearce, and I forgot other one. Darren Pearce.
Better than being in the doldrums, though, isn't it?
It'll come back to me. But there was 3 ex-Wednesday players in the media. No, it wasn't Prutton. Inchcliffe.
Oh, Andy Inchcliffe,
Yeah.
He's a big fan.
I think he was doing the commentary for Sky. Sky. So
I think the pre-season's been a bit of disaster. I don't know whether it's because they've tried to squeeze it in between championships and the start of the season. But I mean, we played international side last night, beaten 3-1, but the football's not great, and half the players are not ready. They're still mentally on the holidays, after the European Championships and the rest of it. It's going to be an interesting start to the season.
I've always thought that the whole... Sorry, Ian.
Go on.
I was going to say, I've always thought the whole purpose of pre-season friendlies was to get as many players injured as possible before the big It seems incredible to me. You send the team out to play on some bone-hard pitch in which hasn't been treated. You send players out who to play against teams who are further on in their preparation, and you send out teams to play some little side, non-league side, for whom it's like a cup final, and they're coming out and trying to kick you off the pitch. And I don't think teams, not just our club, but other clubs, really think enough about looking after their players in their preparation for the season.
I think you're right with that. I've noticed a lot of the big teams have been playing each other, like Tottenham playing Arsenal and
Yeah.
others.
Leicester v City.
Well,
Yeah.
Liverpool have played two fairly decent sides on consecutive nights. And they're taking a point up about injury. We've lost Robertson with ankle
He's
ligament.
okay, but he's missing the first game.
Yeah, but it's a risk. And Jurgen Klopp is on record as having said, we want to have more subs on the bench and all the rest of it because we're burning these players out. Yeah, this pre-season, I think, has been arguably the most congested that we've had.
Yeah.
European Championships. Then we've got to do something, or we'll let them have a fortnight's holiday. But they've got to come and they come back in their dribs and drabs. Different stages. Hardly preparation for the first game of the season next week.
Yeah.
God.
Right, try and move away from football just slightly. I want to ask Big Paul, did you watch much of the equestrian stuff on at the Olympics?
I saw some of it, not too much. I didn't see as much as I would have liked to have done.
There was the guy who part of England, Great Britain's world gold medal winning team on this Explosion X, is it?
Explosion X, yeah.
It looks a fantastic horse.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it other than what I saw at Olympics. But what did disappoint me, I did see, was the fact that the 2016 individual champion, Nick Skelton, now gone over to Americans. And I appreciate his partner is an American, somebody called, I forget her first name, called Kraus, but it looks like he's gone to beat Chef de Keep over there for Americans. And I find it a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, Jessica Springsteen thanked him for his help in preparing her for the Olympics.
Right. But I didn't see as much coverage as I would have liked to have seen with the.
Okay, just before we move on to John's quiz, John's got a quiz about the
I have answered.
about the 1970 something Olympics.
Better go and fetch it.
And can I just say before I started one about a month ago, got halfway through, and time so.
I'm sorry, Dave.
I'm just saying, for a fill-in, I've got second half of that to do sometime.
Brilliant.
You want to do it now, Paul?
No.
No.
I forgot I said.
No, I'll not have enough time now.
All right. Next, maybe not next week, maybe the week after, because Chris is on next week. Right. Just before John starts, I asked a question when I sent out the email. Does anybody have the answer? Sorry. For Paul, it was.
I remember the question.
The question was, what age is the oldest winner of a gold medal in ever the Olympics?
77.
No.
No, all right.
62.
No.
58.
65.
No.
There's a shoot.
Is it 18 something?
No. What did you say, Peter?
He's a shooter, isn't he?
He is a shooter.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything about him.
And he was 72.
Hopefully, yeah.
And does anyone know what the age of the youngest ever medal winner is in the Olympics?
12.
13.
Yeah, 13.
12.
12.
No, it's
No,
Olga Korbut.
the silver medalist was 12.
yeah, no, that was this time, but ever apparently a 10-year-old's won a medal, although it's now disputed that they are the youngest, because apparently in one of the Olympics, the rowing team, I think it was the 8, realised late on that their cocks was too heavy for the boat. So they dragged somebody in off they had to have a cox in the boat. So they dragged a school child off the side of the bank who was allegedly 7 years old, but they don't know who it was. So
He didn't want to do it, they just dragged him in.
they just dragged him in, yeah.
Talking of age, I love the 51-year-old
there.
Spanish road walker who's in
Sit
his
there and don't
consecutive
move.
Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, we'll.
54-year-old.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more spirit about that than Jokovic.
Equestrian.
Yeah.
well, even one of the I think it was one of the skateboarders. He was old for this. He was about 46, I think, and so it's not just a young person's sport. So,
Oh yes, it is.
oh yes, it is. Go on then, John. Let's have the quiz.
Right, I'll give it a go then. This is Summer Olympics, Montreal 1976. I was doing it because expecting Paul the Biscuit to be here because this was his first of several honeymoons that he dragged his wife on to Olympic Games without telling her where they were going. Well, she knew where they were going, but she didn't know they were going to the Olympics. So 76 was his debut. So in the Montreal Olympics, why did 29 mostly African nations withdraw in the week before the Games?
76.
Because they were allowing South Africa to come.
It's to do with South Africa, yeah.
Apartheid.
It was a protest against the New Zealand rugby tour of South Africa when the UN had called for a sporting boycott. So 29 nations withdrew, mainly African. It was a financial disaster for Montreal, and the citizens didn't pay it off for 25 years. It's the biggest cost overrun for any Olympics. The stadium wasn't finished, and even the doves released at the opening ceremony were pigeons. How many gold medals did Canada, the home nation, eventually win? How many gold medals did Canada win?
One.
None.
None.
None. It was the only time it's happened at a summer games. And why wasn't Princess Anne in the royal box with the Queen?
She was in
She was
the
second part.
She was
Competing.
Yeah.
She was competing.
Competitor in the equestrian at the side of Big Paul, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And how was she a unique female competitor at these games?
The only royal one.
She did not have a sex test.
This is true. Yeah, she was the only one and not to have to undergo a sex test. How old was Nadia Comaneci of Romania when she got the perfect 10 at those Olympics? How old was she?
14.
14, she was indeed.
14.
Yeah, 14. She got 7 perfect 10s. And how many gold medals did she win?
3.
Yes, she did. She won 3, including the all-around. The scoreboard could only hold 3 digits, and the score was shown as 1.
Yeah.
1.00. Which other women's gymnasts also won 3 gold medals?
Comaneci.
No, that's the one we've just been talking about. Yeah.
Olga Korbut.
Corbett.
No, not Ronnie Corbett.
Nellie Kim.
Nellie Kim.
Kim.
Nellie
Yeah.
Kim. What a lass, eh? From Barnsley. Oh, sorry, Soviet Union.
No, that's
Soviet
Nellie
Union.
D.
Yeah.
Close.
Nikolai Andrianov of the USSR won how many gold medals in the men's gymnastics?
5.
Yeah, 4. And why was the Olympic flame lit 3 times?
Gas run out.
Rain.
Yeah, a rainstorm doused the Olympic flame a few days after the games had opened. And then an official relit the flame using his cigarette lighter. So the organisers quickly doused it again. And why was that?
Because it needs to be lit. So,
Well, that's, yeah, you're on the right lines there, Dave. It's got to be from the original Olympic flame.
Yeah.
So they had to nip back to Athens and get a big wad of paper and run back and get it lit again. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it was.
You what? This would make a better film than Cool Running.
Who became the first man to win both the 400 and the 800 meters at the same Olympics?
Quantarino.
Quantarino of Cuba. Who was the one that opened his legs and showed his class? Who was that one? I can't remember. That's not a question.
Same man, Quantarino. It was David Coleman. David Coleman.
David Coleman,
yeah.
David Coleman balls. Yeah.
Quantarino opens his legs and here he comes.
Yeah. Who repeated his 1972 double win in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters runs?
Lassie
Viren.
Lassie Viren. Yeah, since equalled by Mo Farah. And what was he, say, notorious for?
Blood transfusion.
Yeah.
Having a
Blood transfusions.
Yeah.
No,
Lassie Viren finished 5th in the marathon, thereby failing to equal whose 1952 Olympic achievement of 5,000, 10,000 and marathon?
Emil Zatopek.
Emil Zatopek.
Marathon man.
Yeah, marathon man. That's him. Dustin Hoffman.
Is it safe?
But it's very sinister, that, Chris. Very sinister. Yeah.
Is it safe?
Is it safe? Yeah. Who won the 100 meters? 100 meters dash. When did you hear that phrase before? Who won the 100 meters? I'll give you a clue.
Carl Lewis.
No, he was Trinidad and Tobago's first Olympic gold medal.
Fredericks.
Don Quarry.
Fredericks. Frankie Fredericks.
No. He used to be in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
Frank Spencer.
Windsor Davis.
No. Well, almost. Paisley Crawford. Paisley Crawford.
Okay.
The identical twin to Michael Crawford, he was. Boris Onishenko, a member of the Soviet Union's modern pentathlon team, was disqualified. And why was that?
Beta
Something to do
blockers.
with fencing.
Yeah.
He changed the end
Electronic
of his,
tab, yeah.
so that it gave him more hit. It didn't.
Yeah, he'd rigged his AP, and not many of us can do that, to register a hit when there wasn't one. Because of this, the USSR modern pentathlon team was disqualified.
We're going to go in a second.
Under a minute, Keith.
You what?
Under a minute.
Less than half.
Less than half.
Seconds even.
Seconds, Keith.
Okay.
Seconds.
All right.